Welcome to Renegade's production of Between. The show will run just under 1 hour with no intermission. Please remain masked for the duration of the performance and turn off your cell phones. We'd like to thank our incredible sponsors for keeping the art alive in Duluth. Bent Paddle, the Christine and Dan Stocky Foundation for Excellence in the Arts and Assorted Shenanigans. Likewise, Warehouse Productions, Kern & Company, CF Design, EHR Go, and MPECU. Thanks for being here, everyone. Enjoy the show.
I understand what suffering is. I appreciate the love you have for me. I remember your precious advice. Separated from you, I'm now facing the true fact about survival. I was born under your protection. I used to think church was just an excuse for my family to get together with my cousins. Don't get me wrong, we love our cousins, really, we do, but the out-of-pitch mom and dad sing-along songs and the constant scoldings from my mom to sit still and to quiet down made the whole experience less than enjoyable. Now that my siblings and I are in different points in our lives, any moment with family is rare. In a way, the plaster circle biscuits when we eat Jesus, the body of Christ, taste better now than they did back then. Joy to the world really does bring joy when we all lip sync in unison to the Lord. Don't be shy. We all do it. We have the lip syncers, the matcher pitchers who don't really know the words till it gets to the chorus and it gets really loud and dies down dramatically. And the moms who were soprano numero uno in high school, belting joy 3 octaves higher than everyone else. Thank you, Janice. Yes, we hear you. Through it all, though, church is something I look forward to every year. One night, as we were driving home from St. Richard's on Christmas Eve, the snow blew in the wind, and the white and brown slush squished under the wheels of minivans and pickup trucks, and armies of potholes lined the road. If you haven't experienced Minnesota driving in the winter, you are blessed. Ooh. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen to you. As I was looking out the window, flakes crawled against the glass. My sister mentioned a volunteering opportunity in Cambodia. She wanted me to go with her, and I thought, why not? I'll get to leave the country for the first time, visit the land of my ancestors, expand my horizons, maybe learn something about myself. Sounds great. Take my money and get me on the next plane to the motherland. Next thing I know, my mom whips around and says, Dare Bear, you are not going. Okay, first off, Dare Bear died when he got to middle school. Second off, why not? She whips back around and turns the radio up. Hey, Mom, why can't we go? Mom, Mom. Okay, the tone might have been slightly too hostile. Big mistake. Mama Bear unleashed. Diversion argument from the left. Meaningless accusation from the right. Subjects arose on things that had nothing to do with what we were originally talking about. Whoopee. After World War family in the car, we got home, and my sister and I teamed up, which never happens. And we launched one final missile at my mother. Graphic. Hey, Mom, why can't we go to Cambodia? I didn't really care about going in the first place. I'm in America, a place where people dream to be, to build better lives in the land of the free, or something along those lines. But to see my mom so unnerved, couldn't help but be curious. What happened next was a door to the face and a good night to this conversation. But that night I was restless. Couldn't help but think what made my mom so defensive and my dad so quiet. When I was 6 years old, my parents enrolled my siblings and I into this place called Boss Swim School. I'm the one on the far right. Learning how to swim was a skill that my mom thought was vital to being a human being. And growing up, I would watch movies like Titanic, The Swiss Robinson Family, and those what if you were stranded in the middle of the ocean scenarios on sci-fi. My mom loved sci-fi, and as a byproduct, I had many nightmares growing up. Needless to say, the swimming lessons began, and I was terrible, horrific, chlorine-filled lungs, eyes, soul. When I kicked, I created a vortex that just propelled my tiny body downwards. Whoosh! Put a 6-year-old me in the Atlantic, I'd start kicking, reach Atlantis within the hour. One day, after our lesson was complete, my dad permitted my brother and I to take a shower. But ass naked. Yep, double cheeks and all, in front of all the other families. Apparently, the shower that we were using was just to rinse off the chlorine. You were expected to keep your swim trunks on. Being that my dad was from Cambodia, the social mores and differences were all something we were figuring out. I feel like my parents struggled in knowing which mores to follow in raising us. Certainly felt that way when I was a kid. I don't blame them. They were always the odd one out, the color in a sea of white. Never realized I was in the same boat till I started elementary school. Growing up in the farmlands of Minnesota. Thanks, Olivia. You could say that the diversity within my elementary school was equal to the amount of Asian role models in the US film industry. Next to nothing. But hey, shout out to Crazy Rich Asians having a full Asian cast and being a successful film. Hey man, let's do more. Here I was, a little boy, wondering why he was in America and not over in Cambodia where other little boys looked like him lived. Why am I here? Why are we here? Why did my mom want me to go to Cambodia? What is she so scared of? I understand what suffering is. I appreciate the love you have for me. I remember your precious advice. Separated from you, I'm now facing the true fact about survival. I was born under your protection. What mistakes did I make to make me live under this condition? My only wish is to be unified with my beloved parents. Two words. Middle school. I wasn't part of the it crowd during my time in middle school. I was far from it. I would eat in the library during lunch because I had no one to sit with, or just didn't feel like pretending to fit in like everyone else. Yeah, I thought I looked pretty cool in that picture. Some days librarians didn't care. Other days I'd skip eating entirely and just walk around the hallways looking like I had somewhere to go. When in reality, I was just looking like I had somewhere to go. Felt like a game of charades. We're all playing this part in some badly written, socially structured 8th grade novel. My part was the A+ Asian who sat in the front of the class, aced every test, and everybody wanted him in group projects so that they didn't have to do any of the work. It's like I fit like a puzzle piece as what my peers expected me to be. It worked. I survived. My brain, my reputation lived in all my classes, except for one. Phi-Ed. First day of Phi-Ed, 12-year-old me was surrounded by other boys changing down in the locker room. It was loud. I made prepubescent boys about to go to gym class after 5 other classes of just sitting. The obnoxious energy was unrivaled. You remember. Just found myself not being able to change in front of the other boys until they all left. Because, I don't know, I guess I was terrified. Middle school was filled with the drama of who is dating who has a crush on who. The gossiping, the flirting, the blushing, it was the hot stuff. I had a girlfriend in middle school, but for all the wrong reasons. Let's just call her Lynn. Lynn was Vietnamese and Asian. I am Asian. We'd make the perfect Asian couple. That's what puberty Deryck thought. I formulated this plan on bus rides home, listening to Linkin Park and Imagine Dragons. I know, the angst. It would be the end of the school day. All the kids would leave, and I would go up to her locker and say in this deep tone that was mysterious and sexy, I would ask to talk to her. And she would say yes, and then we'd go around this corner, and I would say, hey, you, me, movie, Friday night. My mom will drive us. Of course, I never got the courage to up and do that till the last day of 6th grade, when a bunch of guys who knew about this crush that I had and physically forced me to ask her out. In short, the buses were leaving, I was being held down, she was right there in front of me, and I screamed the words, "Would you go out with me?" And then I just... I was out of there in 6 seconds. I think my voice cracked wasn't deep or mysterious at all. I tried to forget about it over the summer, but after about a month, one of Lynn's friends messaged me on Facebook saying that she would. Yippee-ki-yay, Deryck, you got game, my friend. 7th grade was filled with awkward hugs, I'll miss you texts on our flip phones, and can I hold your hand? We went to football games at the high school, and our friend group was all giddy. It's pretty great as far as a middle school relationship goes. But a part of me still felt guilty. I broke up with Lynn on Valentine's Day at a school dance. I know, not my proudest moment. Her dad dropped her off, intimidated me a ton, and we just ended up walking around instead of dancing for what seemed like hours. Just couldn't seem to get out the words. Lynn is the first person I came out to. And she was very understanding, and then we went to different high schools, and it sort of broke off from there. Can I tell you a secret? I am a sucker for a cheesy love story. Like To All the Boys I Loved Before on Netflix. Don't even get me started. Noah Centineo could give me a hug, and if I died in his arms, I would be at peace. Is that weird? It's probably my hormones. Probably puberty. Puberty is hormones. God, I just felt like I was fighting a secret battle within myself not to seem gay, you know? Don't cross your legs. Don't tilt your head in photos. Don't put your hair behind your ears. Slouch, deepen your voice. Act like you don't care. Now, I know these are just stereotypes, but younger me didn't know any better. He just didn't want to feel uncomfortable. Kind of like my parents in Cambodia. You want to hear the tea? Here is the tea. I had this group of friends in high school, and we used to sit at the same corner of couches every morning. And I found myself taking up the role of the clown in the group. I'd resort to physical comedy, emulate a celebrity or something, and quote vines too much. One day I was on the app Vine. May it rest in peace. I was dying of laughter of this video of a potato attached to a ceiling fan spinning around a room. When one of my guy friends called me a banana. Said, dude, not fruit. And he just looked at me stunned. Apparently, a banana is an Asian who is whitewashed. Yellow on the outside, white on the inside. I sat in the crevices of the cushions, arms crossed, brow furrowed. And my friends stopped laughing. Faces went tense, the kind of tense when you stub your toe and you try to swallow the pain. I think what they were feeling was fear. Fear that they offended me. But just smiled and said, I am a banana, aren't I? In my mind, I was flattered. My white friends think I'm one of them. Just finally fitting in. Sometimes I would forget my skin color. If all you see is a sea of white and you don't look in the mirror for a couple hours, the way you look stops crossing your mind. I wanted so badly to be American, whatever that meant. Now, I'm not saying we have to be self-conscious of our skin color 24/7, but it felt good not to seem ethnic. My friend May told me that there's two types of Asians. Those who embrace it and those who deny it. I was so happy to be called a banana or Twinkie in high school because it affirmed my efforts of fitting in with those around me. What shoes are they all wearing? What clothes? Why can't my hair do the same thing that theirs can? Remember the Justin Bieber haircut that ruled over America? I wanted that haircut so badly, but my black, thick, stubborn Asian hair wouldn't allow it. In short, I looked like a cotton ball, bouncing around the hallways of my high school, up and down, boop, 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 boop. Some nights I would hold my eyes open with my fingers because I thought that would make them bigger. I wish I was white. If I was white, XYZ. The Asian's never the hero. My mind just wouldn't shut up. I walked around the hallways of my high school, making eye contact with other boys, and if it was held for 2 seconds or longer than what was socially acceptable in the book of masculinity, my mind went on overdrive. Maybe they find me mysterious. If they found a way to like me, I could find a way to like myself. That's it. I'll be right back. In my AP Human Geography class, we had this project called History Day. Some of you may know it. The project you get to put all the effort in the world into or waited until the last minute to complete. I did mine on the Cambodian Genocide. I wanted to know more about why my family came to the US and finished the project, killing 2 birds with one stone. Bada bing, bada boom. Wah, go, go. Didn't know what I was signing up for. I came across photos that resembled the Holocaust. People who looked more bone than human. Mountains of skulls and kids holding semi-automatic weapons. Kids. I'm 22, never held a gun, never needed to. The more photos I came across, the more autobiographies I read, the more fear I began to collect. What did my dad go through? What did my mom experience? How did they get out of Cambodia and these people didn't? It frustrates me that a massive genocide took place in Cambodia and my history textbook failed to mention it. Pol Pot was his name. Asian Hitler. I learned that the Khmer Rouge was a communist regime that grew in the eastern jungles of Cambodia. They overthrew the Cambodian capital, Phnom Penh, in April 1975, with Pol Pot as their leader. They split the country's population into work camps and murdered thousands of perceived political opponents, used schools as torture chambers for the rich and educated. The Cambodian Genocide would lead to the death of 1.5 to 3 million people. The death toll of 25% of Cambodia's population. 25%. The number isn't exact because not all the bodies were found or recognizable. I got an A on my project, but it was more than just passing the class. Let's dive into a little geography lesson, shall we? Do you know where Cambodia is? Well, if you can locate Cambodia on this world map in under 30 seconds, you will win a prize. Just say yes or no super loudly if you think what I'm pointing to is Cambodia. Ready, set, go.
No, 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 no.
Yes! Prizes! Cookie for you, cookie for you, cookie especially for you. House left, house right. More cookies. I don't have enough cookies for everyone. You see, not many people know where Cambodia is because it's such a small country. Why would you? Senior year was flying by, graduation was just around the corner, and my friends and I were spending each and every day together like it was our last. Skipping school, going bowling, going to Dairy Queen. Yep, that was pretty much all you could do in the suburbs. Then the next thing I knew, walked across that stage, and I was free. Freedom! Now I just go to college for 4 more years, be thousands of dollars in debt for the next 10. Do not pass go and collect 200. Yay, life! The summer before college, my friend May and I, we got together for a lunch date at a pho restaurant called Pho 83. Always a number in the name. As we were sitting down, slurping through our noodles, she said, when she was a kid, her and her siblings had this unique gesture that whenever they saw an Asian in public, they put their hands to their foreheads and said, Asian detected, Asian detected. After that, I started to become an Asian advocate. It was my duty to live with my culture on my forehead, otherwise it would die. I had to learn Khmer, otherwise part of me would be left unawakened. I started to watch anime, shut my friends down whenever they called me anything resembling food. I'm Cambodian. I'm me. I'm proud of it. No, Brad, I'm not a banana. No, Felix, I'm not a Twinkie. No, Cassandra, I will not make racist jokes just so that I can feel included and purposeful. I started to wear my hair down like a bowl cut, but not as bad. Still had a little style. Think I ate something sour in that photo? I took Chinese lessons on Duolingo, ate Pocky every waking moment. If there was a list of all the Asians in the world and whoever was the most Asian at top, I was climbing that list. Cosplay. Takes the cake. It's where people spend months making costumes and dressing up as their favorite characters like Deadpool, Spider-Man, there's a bromance, Marvel over DC, I love you 3000. I was compelled to be part of this Asian point cosplay extravaganza. Well, mostly because my older sister Stephanie, she found a passion for it. We had as characters from this anime known as Log Horizon. I had this huge sword that I slumped over my shoulder, temporarily dyed hair, don't even know what color that's supposed to be. And I walked around thinking, I am one with modern Asian culture. Kawaii! Wah, cha, cha, wah. My older brother Brian, the pinnacle of this lifestyle. Because of him, I started to burn incense, wear Pokemon graphic tees, and cut my friends out of my life. The non-Asian ones. No one got me like Asians do, and everyone else is just privileged, and I shouldn't be friends with them. Me and May had another lunch date, but this time, loading up on the sriracha, cause gotta get those Asian points, when she said, "Deryck, how you doing?" I said, "Great. So after, do you want to get some boba tea and then go to the Asian Oriental market?" She stopped me and said, "Deryck, what are you doing? I think you're taking this a bit too far." I stopped slurping my noodles and put my ladle spoon down. We had an argument over who she really was, who I really was. Didn't end up coming to an agreement. We didn't say anything the rest of the lunch, except goodbye. It's like I put the blame on others because I didn't know who the hell I was or where to put that blame. Felt like a grandfather clock. I swung from one side to the other and was nowhere closer to figuring out where I belonged. Where was my community? Because I certainly couldn't fit in with my friends fully at school. Felt out of place at family gatherings. I don't speak the language. All I know how to say is Rampi, the number 7. How useless is that? I don't like the music or dancing. It looks like this. Lost. I needed a fresh start, and freshman year of college was just that. After a couple months away, I came home for Thanksgiving break, and my mom was in the kitchen, stir-frying a blend of mushrooms, beef, asparagus. The smell of garlic and spices filled our kitchen. Sitting in a high chair, stealing a green onion, I was looking at this photo of a young Cambodian woman next to a younger woman on what seemed like a beach house. I watched countless coming out videos on YouTube, and I theorized the perfect way to do it. Didn't end up being perfect. I did it through a play that I wrote. It had the words, "I'm gay" in it, and I sent them a draft. A couple hours later, I got a text saying, "Looks good." I was happy. Anytime my parents would mention marriage or my future, they used the word partner instead of girlfriend. That was more than enough for me. Oh, Asians, in the subtle ways we say, "I love you, I accept you, I trust you," without actually saying it. Classic. Opening up to them made me feel like they would open up to me. Mi casa, su casa? "Hey, Mom, how'd you get to America?" I braced myself for the unleashing of Mama Bear 2.0, but she just smiled and started talking about her Aunt Charlotte, who was only 5 years older. They played at the top of this penthouse with a garden terrace, and summer vacations were on the Cambodian shoreline where she rode baby elephants, collected crabs with her dad for outdoor picnics in the rose gardens with Mommy and Papi. The smell of freshly moistened soil filled the air. Her and Charlotte went to this French private school called Lycée Descartes. And the teachers were strict. The studies were challenging. In the silence of the night, in the sky, the cloud dissipates, showing the full moon. My heart aches thinking about you who is far away from me. My heart is trembling, fearing you may forget about me. Don't forget about my pledge to always wait for your return. How big is the mountain? How large is the ocean and earth? Nothing can be compared to my suffering now. We moved to the living room. 3 couches, white shaggy carpet, a fireplace with a rocky stone wall, and 3 huge windows with brown draping blinds. My mom sat me down with my dad, and she told me, one night, Papi showed them a bullet hole in his briefcase where a sniper shot into his office. The French embassy requested all French citizens to evacuate Cambodia. My mom started to speak. We got to the airport and everyone was very quiet, just watching Charlotte and I run around the seats. We had Coca-Cola and ice cream, which wasn't normal. Puppy never really liked children making noise, especially girls. When it was time to board the plane, they said, Charlotte will go to France and we will join them later. Puppy picked up Charlotte, my dad with me, and I kicked him, I screamed. And after that, I didn't care much about my dad's side of the family, or school, grades, friends. Started to skip school. Became a routine. I would get dropped off, wait for my chauffeur to leave, wait for the bell, walk across the courtyard and go to a park. There I'd walk around this lake, sit on this bench. There was this old man there who had a sandwich stand, and he'd always say, why are you not in school? I ignored him. But after a free couple sandwiches, he became my friend at the park. He'd say, the propaganda on television is false. Many will die. War will come and people will do whatever they have to in order to survive. It's in their nature. The next day, I woke up late because I had to memorize this French poem. Don't know why I was having so much trouble memorizing it, but Ma was furious. She decided to take a car instead of a bicycle taxi and come with me. I thought maybe she knows me about skipping school and wanted to talk to one of my teachers. She was saying, Serena, grades are important. What are you doing? I don't remember how long she was talking. I was tuning her out when all of a sudden the ground shook. We heard this huge sound. We knew the sound. We heard it every night, but only in the distance. An explosion? Can't be. This close? They say the cart was obliterated, wiped out, and the teachers and children with it. My mom had no choice but to grow up. She took care of her brother and sister, held a gun, saw death as a 9-year-old. And to think I was only worried about how long my Halloween candy would last me when I was 9. Or how many presents I had compared to my siblings on Christmas Eve. My mom was almost blown to bits, but was saved by a poem. The connections my grandpa had with the embassies allowed them to come to the US seeking asylum before the war had spread to the capital. My dad's face was dark, his eyes somewhere else. I was 14 when the Khmer Rouge took over Cambodia. I didn't get out in time. I was forced into this camp, and the communists took everything because they didn't believe in material riches. Food became scarce. You were allowed to have one spoon that you attached to your belt loop, and it would jingle as you ran around these camps, for what we were working for was a mystery. We had one bowl of food that we shared with 4 other people a day. And food surrounded the camp, but you would be beaten or taken away if you dared touch it. One day, my brother and I became so hungry, we went out to get some food for ourselves and our mom. We were caught. The Khmer Rouge officers tied us to a pole all night, and the mosquitoes would just bite at you for what seemed like an eternity. My mom overheard them talking about hitting us over the head and throwing us into pits. Didn't want to waste bullets. She pleaded and got a release, luckily. We stayed in line only for a while, but there comes a point where you're so hungry, your primal instincts kick in. The next time we went out into the jungle in search of food. We weren't afraid of what lurked in there. The humid air filled my lungs. Beads of sweat littered my forehead. As we walked to the river, we looked for dirt that was tampered with for mines. We set a trap for fish that night and waited, with danger stirring all around us. Splashing in the river. I ran to the net. Wasn't a fish. It was one of the biggest pythons I've ever seen, and it started to wrap around my leg. I yelled to my brother to grab anything to help me. The head of the snake was caught in the net, and we just kept hitting and banging on its skull until finally the tension around my leg goes limp. My face mixed with a terrified look, as well as joy. Joy because we had something to eat. After 5 years of hell, we were finally liberated. The Vietnamese invaded and freed all the work camps, and I walked to the Thailand border and waited for my older sister's sponsorship of the rest of my family to the US. We had nothing. Nothing remained. Except the final words of a Cambodian boy scratched into the margins of a passport. My older brother, Hong. He went to school in the capital, and there was no way for us to get to him in time. Hong's thoughts and ideas were written on those decaying pages. They'd be the final words he shared with the world before he died. I did it. I got my parents to open up, and I think we were all closer because of it. My questions of how they came to the US were answered. There was still one thing I wanted to know. Hey, Dad, do you still happen to have this journal? He led me upstairs, and under his hang sweatshirts, he pulled out an old, dusty briefcase. My mom goes, ew, went to grab one of our 53 Swiffer dusters. Inside was a Ziploc bag with a passport. It was written in Khmer, so I couldn't read it. Gave it to my grandfather to translate, and I thanked my dad. I was wondering now, would they let my sister and I go to Cambodia? Not the right time to push those buttons. We went to bed. The next morning, I came downstairs, and on the counter was a folder with a sticky note attached. Deryck, here's the translation for the journal. Grandpa. My Uncle Hong's journal. My darling Lily, I cannot detach my thoughts from that unfortunate scarf you gave me. My family pressures me to forget about you, that scarf, and have a new wife according to family request. How can I choose? The only way I know is to be with you. How big is the mountain? How large is the ocean and earth? Nothing can be compared to my suffering now. All the people and their leaders, the skillful orators, no one can convince me to forget about the love I have for you. I shed my tears for love. I proclaim. I surrender to the power of love. I can shave my head to become a Buddhist monk, but no merit can arise from that act. I bear the weight of both sides. What I can do is shed more tears. The cries of beetles make me weep. My chest almost burst into pieces. Anchor's flowers, please revive me. Lily, my love is far away. Nikbu Temple, Bayu Temple, you are witness of my love for Lily. Why do you allow me to be separated from her? I pray to Angkor Thom, Chesbumping Temple, and Kok Thork Buddha, that in a future life, I will meet you again. I pray to Tamprung Temple, Chaosei Temple, and I burn incense to request that you, Lily, will attain nirvana. Lily, I pray that you will be reborn in a peaceful realm. This is my uncle's last journal entry. To Lily, someone that I presumed that he loved, someone who gave him an unfortunate scarf, someone who etched their way into his heart that on his final and darkest day, all he thought about was her. I found out that my uncle died of starvation. His portrait was on a glass table in my childhood home. I ran past it countless times, playing hide and go seek with my dogs or Nerf gun wars with my siblings. His long face and wide eyes I see every time I look into the mirror. The lotus flower is a symbol of revival, and it blooms from the deepest and thickest mud. And like the lotus flower, Cambodians have and will continue to rise above their deep and dark history and bloom beautifully into the future. I read that in an article once, and something about it gives me hope. I love my skin. I love my black, thick, stubborn Asian hair, even if it can't do the Bieber Swift. Most importantly, I accept my history. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can you accept your genocidal past where your parents had to flee their home country and escape the mass murders? Well, it got me here. It's who I am. I'm here pursuing what I love with parents who support me and accept me for who I am, and friends who believe in me. Can you ask for more? Asian things, American things, a between. Finally, I'm here, about to board the plane to Cambodia, and at first I thought that I had to go, because something about that place will awaken a part of me or help me accept myself for who I am. But now that I think about it, I don't have to go. I have everything I need, right here. My family, their love, their history. But I'm still gonna go. Because knowing where you come from is just as important as knowing where you want to go.
Imagine a world where zeitgeist no longer exists.
Actually, let's not. So things look a little different now, that's for sure, but we're no stranger to change. For the past 10 years, 10 hard-earned years, we have been working with and for our community to realize a shared vision of what a connected, creative, and thriving future can look like. Change is the name of our game. Zeitgeist is a unique organization, and our ambition and our scope is big. It's not about any one issue or any one art form or any one environmental project. It's about a vision for the way our community works and what we prioritize. We know we are a stronger community when we invest in artists and celebrate the diverse cultures of the people who live here. We know we are a stronger community when we ensure that every resident, regardless of background, has a voice in shaping our shared future. We know we are a stronger community when we care enough about our environment to adopt systems and policies that protect it. And we know we are a stronger community when we get to know each other as people, building new connections, breaking bread together, and exploring ideas. We believe in these as the core values that should define our community, and that's our goal here, to use our programming to shape the zeitgeist, the spirit of who we are. Our work has shifted to reflect the needs of this community, and our work will continue to shift to meet those needs. What we do is unbroken by politics or pandemics. At Zeitgeist, we do what we do because we know that our future can and will be shaped by those willing to show up. So yes, do things look different right now? Sure. But our work will continue because we will continue to show up, and our commitment to you, this community, is as strong as ever.
Edgy, new, artsy, exciting, freeing, cathartic.
Zeitgeist is a community space, and I've really felt that here today.